Mason bees are incredible pollinators for your fruit trees, and now is the time to start planning when you want to release your mason bees. Mason bees are solitary bees. They have the belly hair all over their body called scopa. So when they belly flop onto those flowers, they get completely covered in loose pollen that then sprinkles around to all your fruit trees, and they pollinate 95% of everything they land on. So if you have fruit trees, you want mason bees. Today I wanted to show you a video that I did with our owner, Jim Watts, last spring for a fruit tree pollination video, all about how to use mason bees to get the most fruit from your fruit trees. I wanted to share that because Jim is an expert. He has been doing this his whole life. We work with farmers and orchards all over the country, and he's the one that helps them know when to release the bees, stagger the release, teaches them what to plant in the fields to support bees. So I wanted to show you that clip, and then we're going to talk to you about how to stagger the release of your bees. Maybe you have a plum or a tree that blooms in early March. You got to put bees out then, but then you have another variety that blooms in April. We're going to teach you how to stagger the release of your bees and how to support bees in your habitat so that they will pollinate and help you grow more fruit, make your trees healthier and stronger, and have an overall great healthy habitat. So let's tune in. Here's the video, and then I'll come back in the end and show you some ways of how you can stagger the bees, put them into different containers, and release them. So check at the end as well. All right. Fruit tree pollination. I have Jim coming up to talk a little bit about our fruit trees and how to help pollinate. We've got some slides to show you as well. So this is some of our setups at some of the farms. This is in the cherry blossoms that we did. And you can see our big bee totes. How many bees are we releasing in those totes?
So when we do large orchards, so like that top picture is almond orchards in California. So we'll do one honeybee hive and 1,000 mason bees per acre. So each of those totes will have 1,000 mason bees in it.
And yes, they work well together. They're not competing with each other. So we get asked that, well, can I have a mason bees hive? Yeah, they all work well together, and they're not going to fight with each other.
For your yard, if you got an apple tree in your yard, it takes about 3 or 4 female mason bees to pollinate that tree. 1,000 per acre is basically what we do. So of course you don't have a full acre, most of you. It doesn't take very many in your yard. If they're visiting 2,000 blooms a day, you can look at your trees and estimate how many blooms you got, and you can kind of figure out how many you need. But for one tree, 3 to 4 females would be adequate. So,
where to place your bees? So mason bees fly about 300 feet. So if you have a large yard, if you have a house in the middle, you have some fruit trees on one side, some fruit trees on another, spread out your bee houses. Get 2 bee houses, one for each side of your yard. And then you want to put it, I'll let you speak to this too. Like, where should they place their bee house how far away from their trees?
I assume we all live around Seattle. So the sunniest spot would be number 1. So we face our stuff south-southeast. In terms of orientation, so don't put them where you got a tree right in front of it and it's going to be shaded all day. So you just have to look in your own yard, determine what the sunniest spot is, where you're going to have the longest amount of sun on that through the course of the day. I would say that in Seattle, it cannot get too hot for these bees, okay, in the spring, right? 90 degrees will kill a mason bee. Right around there. So I think we're pretty safe in around here with that temperature. So get them lots of sun. And again, they only go about 300 feet. So you kind of if your trees if you're on acreage and your trees are a long ways away, you're going to have 2 kits. When we do it in a large orchard, we set up one of those totes every acre because obviously they won't go. When you have 100 acres that you're pollinating, you got to spread them out. So just think about that in your yard, depending on circumstances. So we can't answer the question for you, but you can figure that out.
And these houses are painted black for a reason. It attracts the sunshine, because early spring, it's still cold outside, right? So that's the other reason you want to put this in the morning sun. It's going to warm up this whole box and get your bees going. So that's the other reason. And they're nice and easy to hang with a little hook. We put them all on our blocks.
So this is a fun thing I love to teach and talk about, and Jim can speak a little bit to it too, but when do you put your bees out? So I'm fielding a ton of phone calls right now from people, my blueberry bush is starting to bloom, my Asian plum is starting to bloom. Can I get my bees? I need my bees right now, it's starting to bloom. So when you're blooming super early, so we're still in March, but people are wanting their bees, you can put them out. We're gonna have some sneaky weather. I personally put mine out the first or second week of April because we get sneaky freezes around here and I don't want anything, I want to give my bees a good shot. But you can do what's called staggering the release of your bees, and this is a really cool technique. So you wanna put out, we sell extra tubes if you want extra tubes, or you can take a Jello box and divide your cocoons up if you want as well. But you can put 1 tube of bees out at the end of March, a second tube of bees out, second week of April, and did I say March? April. So end of March, second week of April, end of April. So you're gonna have mason bee pollination all through because they only live 6 to 8 weeks. So those that are putting their bees out at the end of March, they're gonna be done in about 6 to 8 weeks. And then you're not gonna have any more pollination. But if you have another variety of fruit trees, an apple tree or a pear tree or cherry that's still blooming, you're gonna need to put a second tube of bees out to have those emerge. Right? So then you'll have mason bee pollination even longer, which is kind of fun. Everyone loves the emerging of bee process anyway, so then you just get even more bees to emerge. The other thing you can do, maybe you can speak to it, because I talked to people on the phone. I was talking to a guy last year about taking his bees as his Asian plum was blooming. And I said, well, take that tube out of the fridge and go sit on it and warm it up for a little while. And he's like, long pause on the phone. I'm like, I'm just kidding. You don't need to be a chicken to hatch your bees. But the theory is you can take that tube inside your home, which is nice and toasty warm, and you can warm up the bees and then put them out. Now, survival rate with them, it's so cold outside, but if you do need to get those Asian plums pollinated, it is a trick, but you really don't have to sit on them, but it is a way you can warm them up. Or just take a handful of the cocoons and warm them up so you're not compromising all your bees.
So when we do almonds in California, it's cold down there quite often, so it'll quite often be 55 degrees, but there's bloom everywhere. So we actually pre-emerge all the bees. We just bring them up to room temperature. We hatch them all in their white PVC tube, and then when bloom's ready, we take the tape off, take the bees out, and they just come right out. They'll fly at 55 because the sun is shining down there, right? So it's not always sunny. I was there this week and it rained the whole time I was there, but in general, it's sunny. If it's 50 degrees, they'll fly at 50 degrees. The problem we have here is it's 50 degrees, but it's not sunny, right? So no insects are flying when it's raining. That's just kind of the way it is, right? So it doesn't work as well here. So, but we can pre-emerge them down there. We're almost done with bloom in California with the almonds. The mason bees are almost done. And it works really well. And the bees have done, I was in an orchard this week. Bees have done a great job. There were tons of full holes. Yeah, it looked really good.
And the other thing that's great about mason bees, they're native, right? So they're used to the cooler, colder, damp, wet weather. So you'll see mason bees flying around in your yard pollinating, and the honeybees, you won't see any sign of them because they're not used to this cold, wet weather. So that's another nice thing about native bees and why farmers love using mason bees, because even in the misty rain in California, you'll still have, not pouring down rain, but you'll still have mason bees pollinating. I love teaching the staggering. I'm having so many phone conversations right now with bees. And the nice thing that we just started it this year, where you can buy an extra tube of bees. And if you're staggering the release of your bees, this is a good way of doing it. So how many bees to release? You may have already answered this, but out in the crops, 400 mason bees do the work of 40,000 honeybees. Sink that in. 400 mason bees do the work of 40,000 honeybees. Like, it's staggering. Again, if you go back to my slide, how mason bees pollinate 95% of everything they land on, and honeybees only 5%. This is where the significance of having mason bees for your fruit trees are amazing.
One of the big things that have happened, so the almond trees, it's the largest pollination event in the world. There's 1.5 million acres of almonds in Central California. It's crazy. And 90% of the honeybees in the United States go to Central California for that event. And they put 2 honeybee hives per acre on almonds, which puts you to, they can barely survive on that. Honeybees need lots of nectar, so that's about the nectar load for honeybees. Almonds are. So it's really tough on the honeybees. So when they add our mason bees, they reduce the honeybees workload down to one honeybee hive. There's tons of nectar for them, tons of pollen, and honeybees come out healthier. So it's been a really good reciprocal relationship with honeybee keepers, farmers, and us. Everybody's happy. And so it's mason bees are a big benefit to honeybees.
He was asking, where do we set up mud?
Mud doesn't have to be a huge mystery, okay? So in your garden, you've probably put a lot of mulch and stuff like that in there, and so it doesn't pack well. But if you've got soil in your yard that when you get it wet, just take it and ball it up. If it'll ball up, it'll work for the bee, okay? If you can make a little worm out of it, it's sticky enough that they can build. If it's sandy or if it's all mulch and it falls apart, then that's not going to work. But by and large, what they like is a vertical surface. So we really recommend, just dig a hole somewhere, get that vertical surface, make sure it kind of stays wet. They'll drill into the side of it if it's not all sand. So what we do like in orchards, like I've got a grower in Fresno. It's a sandbox, his orchard. It's just super sandy. Every acre, they dig a hole. They take the mud that we sell them, the same stuff. They just throw it in that hole with a little drip line on it. You'll see you just see hundreds of bees going in there, getting that clay mud out of there because there's nothing else for them. But a lot of times, most of us have somewhere in our yard that the soil has not been amended and will have enough clay. Don't get too worked up about it though, okay? But yeah, just dig a hole, throw that stuff in there, keep it wet. They'll find it. It's crazy how they find it. They also like mole holes. I got those. A lot of us have those, right? I've seen just bees going in and out of mole holes.
When we're working with farmers and we're working with crops around the country, we always encourage them to plant a cover crop. So this is a picture I just found on Google, but it's dandelions. Like again, dandelions are great, but clover and what else do we have them plant?
Well, we do a seed mix.
Seed mix, yes.
Specifically.
You get our seed mix. You get our seed mix as well. But why? Why do we do that? Well, when these trees are done blooming and all the petals fall off, there's no food left for the bees. So that's where the cover crops. So there still might be like a 2 or 3 week overlap where the bees are still flying, they still need food, they're still nesting, they're still trying to feed their babies, but there's no food for them in the orchards. Around here, you probably won't have that much of an issue with that because you'll have other things blooming. But when we're working with farmers, they have that almond and then the blooms fall and then there's nothing left for bees. We get asked all the time about pesticides and sprays. Like, what kind can I use and can I spray? And you can address this as well, but the best timing if you have to use pesticides is when there's no bloom. So before bloom or after bloom. And then I'll let Jim answer kind of a little bit more in detail about nighttime and like all of that sort of thing if you have to.
Yeah, so if you have to spray, so these are kind of there's rules that we do with our farmers, but in your backyard, I'm sure it's going to be different, but try not to spray during bloom because bees in general are attracted to your trees during that time of the year, right? So once bloom's done, they're not going to be visiting your tree in the same manner. So if you can avoid it, that's great. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's something you have to spray. So if there's something you have to spray during bloom, we recommend doing it at night, and then try to do it in such a way, if it's cold, there's a chance the next morning you would have dew. Well, whatever you sprayed doesn't dry, and then it's in that dew in the morning, and you can really get your bees bad when that happens. Okay, so try to spray right as the sun's going down in the evening. Make sure it dries overnight. Chances are your bees will be okay. So that's if you have to spray. The other thing is, don't mix sprays together. Okay? So if you have to spray, say, a fungicide on your trees because it's rained and you're worried about all that, don't add, they sell with them. They sell things like stickers that cause it to stick better, or spreaders that cause it to spread better. Do not mix those together and spray that. We're finding that causes huge problems. So when you mix chemicals together, that's never been tested on bees. And it changes the makeup of that spray. And so it doesn't work. I'll just tell you, it can be really toxic to bees. So we've had some really good success in orchards where the guys will spray even at night. In fact, most fruit guys now, most farmers spray at night. That's just the way it's done.
Because they're not flying.
Because the bees aren't flying.
Yeah.
Right? So
and it can dry overnight, so it won't impact them the next day.
So we won't work with a farmer who sprays during the day. We're just not participating with them.
And that's a huge thing, because all these farmers want to use our bees, but we're really selective because we don't want them killing the bees that they're using. So it's a big deal, right?
Well, it's dumb.
Right.
Because it's a complete waste of money.
Yeah.
Go kill all your bees that you just spent all this money on. Well, it just doesn't work. So. And
we're part of OBA, Orchard Bee Association. If you're getting bees from other people, make sure they're OBA certified, because there's certain rules and ways. I see a lot of bee sales right now, because it's bee season, for people to buy mason bee tubes full of bees that haven't been cleaned. And you want to avoid those, because obviously there's predators and pests inside. But when you're part of the Orchard Bee Association, we have to follow all these rules and guidelines to ship and send the right species, and to take care of them, and to hibernate, all of the stuff that we have to follow. But part of the OBA Association is we work with these research teams all across the country. Once a year, we get together for an OBA meeting. Now, anybody can join it if you have fruit trees or if you want to be a part of it. It's really, really fun. We went to Utah for the USDA Bee Lab a couple years ago. Last year, it was hosted here. I think next year, this year, it's going to be hosted. They're figuring out. Nina's a part of it. But why I bring this up is when we go to these OBA meetings, the researchers present the research that they've been doing on mason bees. And so we've learned some really cool things. And one of the things that they taught us, it was a couple years ago, is they were researching and studying the smells in the bees' habitat. Does that impact them coming back to their nesting blocks or into their pollination? And the research they were doing, they found that the tractors that the farmers are using in that exhaust that's coming out, they were super highly sensitive to it, and they flew off. They didn't like it. So if they're sensitive to those smells of the exhaust, imagine what a spray or something in your yard. Don't wear too much perfume when you're out looking at your bees. But my point is, they are very highly sensitive to all of these things. We're wrapping things up. So I put this on my newsletters. Hear the buzz, be the buzz, join the buzz. So please join, follow us on YouTube. If you're getting our videos, these are QR codes that go right to it, and then you can subscribe. I'm constantly teaching. We're always doing new videos. We're putting content out because I love to teach bees. And so this video today we'll put it up on YouTube. And then please subscribe to our newsletters. If you're not getting them already, it's how we communicate to the masses. We have thousands of people that do our program, and I can't reach every single one of them. So this is my easy way. If you see a newsletter, they come in from info@rentmasonbees.com. Make sure that it's not going into your spam box, because I try to not spam you. I don't want to give you a bunch of crap all the time. If you're seeing a newsletter, it's important. So open it up and take a look at it. And then Facebook and Instagram. I'm really good at Facebook. I'll post lots of stuff. I'm not so good on Instagram. Nina is good at Instagram. I'm not the best, but I'm being taught and I'm getting better. I do this talk to help teach, but there's just a handful of us that can teach people the proper care and maintenance of mason bees. I'd love your help to help teach more people. I will provide this PowerPoint presentation to you. You can share my videos. You can do whatever you need to help spread the word on proper care and maintenance, please, because there's so many people. Millions of these bee hotels are super cute, but there's no instructions on how to care for bees. So please, goosebumps, help me help you. No, but help spread the word on how to care for these amazing little pollinators. So I think that's it. There you go. Any questions?
Thank you so much for watching that entire video about Jim and I speaking about how to get the best pollination from your mason bees. I know I mentioned very quickly in the video you can stick your bees in a Jello box for emergence, so I wanted to show you exactly what I meant by that. I actually say that a lot when I teach. It's not very high tech, but sometimes what you can do is you take your tube of bees, there's about 50 to 60 cocoons in that tube, and if you're staggering the release of your bees in March and April, you can open up your tube and you can take out some of the loose cocoons. This is what I mean by a Jello box, just a very simple Jello box with a hole poked in it. You can't put loose cocoons on top of your nesting material. You have to put them in a protective case. So this is very high tech. It's just a Jello box. So you can either take the cocoons out of your white tube, 10 or so, put them in here and put this on top of your nesting material for them to emerge, or you can do the opposite. You can take your bees, put them in the Jello box into your fridge, or you can just get any plastic container, poke holes in it. It's very important that they need air, and put either of these into your refrigerator and then put those cocoons in the tube out on top. So I hope that makes sense. I'll explain it down below with more detail, but when I'm talking about staggering the release and taking some of the bees out, this is what I'm talking about. The little Jello box with a hole poked in it so that they can emerge safely and not have loose cocoons where birds can eat. So that is how you can help pollinate your fruit trees. It is time to get your mason bees. We now have an area on our website where you can let us know when you want your bees. So if you do have fruit trees that need to be pollinated at a certain time, we want to make sure to get you your bees when you need them so your fruit trees can be pollinated. So reach out anytime with any questions at info@rentmasonbees.com. Check out our YouTube channel for way more educational videos than just this one. And yeah, happy pollinating. Thank you. Bye.